of the IOM Radio Network.
Good evening, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Matt Connarton Unleashed is live from the Uptown Auto Repair Studio in Manchester, New Hampshire. We're broadcasting worldwide, of course, on IPM Nation 2, which you can hear. You can hear the show Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern on IPM Nation 2, one of our live channels on the IPM Nation live station, and of course, Tuesdays and Thursday nights, we have the honor and privilege of being on OTR FM as well. Well, it says OTR FM. It's not OTR FM as well. For those new to the show, I just want to be clear. I'm pretty tired, so I might be a little silly. I am wiped. That's my new catchphrase, you know. OTR FM is, of course, the premium channel on the OMTimes radio network. So, very happy to be a part of that as well. We were the first broadcast ever on OTR FM, you know, just saying. I like to remind everybody of that once in a while. Let's see. Yes, so we are, of course, emanating from the Uptown Auto Repair Studio. And Matt Connarton Unleashed, of course. We are, as is the IPM Nation live station, powered by Ambit Energy. If you want to learn how to save on your energy bills, go to ipmnation.ambitrabbit.com. You'll be glad that you did, and you could be on your way to free energy. And, of course, we're sponsored by the Mortgage Specialists. If you're buying a home, I strongly recommend going to themortgagespecialists.com. And you can schedule an appointment for a consultation with those good folks, either at your place or theirs. Themortgagespecialists.com. And let's see. We do have a phone line open for you tonight if you'd like to join us. I don't have a guest. It's just me here in the studio, which opens up an opportunity for you. You can give us a call at 617-917-4IPM. That's IPM as in IPM Nation. 617-917-4476. You can call or text us at that number. We also have the chat room at ipmnation.com/live2. So you can communicate with me or with other listeners in the chat room at any time. You can post on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. You can tweet me at Matt Connarton. You can email me at matt@ipmnation.com. I never think to mention that. But you can do that too. There are all kinds of ways to get in touch. This week's television edition of Matt Connarton Unleashed is up and on the IPM Nation YouTube channel, as well as Ward 13 with John Hopwood, which I was on this week as well, as I am most weeks. Both of those were pretty good shows this week. I was also on, as I am every week, of course, there's a show that I'm on Wednesdays, which some of you might be familiar with, Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm the co-host of the Honorable Gary S. Hopper. And I am uploading that to YouTube right as we speak. And what was particularly interesting about this week's show was, well, first of all, so Gary and our guest, who was New Hampshire State Rep Paul Ingbertson, I'm never sure if I'm saying his name correctly, they were both late. So I had the first, 5 or 6 minutes of the show to myself. So I kind of took advantage of that time to express my theory. And if you're a regular listener or viewer, you know by now my theory. And again, it's not a joke. I'm completely serious about this. I am convinced that Donald Trump is intentionally trying to tank this election. And I don't think he really wants to be president. Not that he necessarily made a secret deal with the Clintons. That part sounds a little out there, I know. But I do think he's intentionally trying to tank. And I kind of laid out my case, as I did here on this show the other night, as to why I believe that and kind of the epiphany that I had about that and why I'm now convinced that that is the case. So then Gary finally walks in, and Paul was soon after him. But Gary walks in and he hears me rambling about this, and he's asking me, what's got you so excited? So then I told him my theory, and then Paul came in and shared my theory with him as well. And of course, like everyone else, they both looked at me like I'm crazy because no one really believes me. Although actually, John Hopwood, and he surprised me on the television edition of this show. John Hopwood, who is has sort of become my unofficial co-host, as I am his unofficial co-host, because our shows are back to back on Tuesdays. I expected him to argue with me, and he didn't. He said, "No, you're probably right about that," which kind of surprised me. He said, "Yeah, I don't think he really wants to be president. I think he was running just, as a publicity stunt to build his brand, and it kind of backfired on him in the sense that now he's doing much better than he expected, and he didn't expect to actually be the nominee. So he agrees with me, I guess, but I think he may be the only one. But of course, so they both look at me like I'm crazy, and then of course, I get to see up close and personal Republicans tie themselves in knots, explaining how there's absolutely nothing wrong with Trump's behavior, and how it's actually great because he's just very blunt, and he's got the establishment very afraid because he's so blunt, and they're just panicking, and then of course, and this also so predictable. I bring up how one of the reasons I'm convinced that Hillary Clinton will be the next president is that Gary Johnson, the Libertarian nominee, is going to peel off probably at least 10% of the vote. I mean, he's polling at 10% generally now. So if he peels off at least 10% of Republicans who don't want to vote for Trump because they're so disgusted with him, but they don't want to stay home, that easily throws the election to Hillary. And again, of course, they look at me like I'm crazy, and they're both like, who cares about Gary Johnson? Nobody's going to vote for Gary Johnson. And then I patiently try to explain to them, no, you don't understand. Gary Johnson's doing very well in the polls. Like, he's doing like Ross Perot in 1992 well, that level of well. and that's probably going to increase. And a lot of people to this day believe that Bill Clinton won in 1992 because of Ross Perot's presence, because Ross Perot diverted so many votes away from George H.W. Bush. Now, personally, I think Clinton probably would have won anyway because the economy was crashing, and rightly or wrongly, probably wrongly, frankly, the general public blamed it on George H.W. Bush. He was the guy at the top, and as we've talked about on the show before, usually whoever's president gets the credit or the blame for how the economy's doing, even if they have very, very little to do actually with how the economy is doing. So I think Clinton probably would have won anyway, but Perot absolutely ensured that he would. And you're going to see the same scenario here. And I'm trying to tell these guys, look, it's just math. He's gonna do at least 10%. He is a serious. I know he only did 1% in 2012, but this is a completely set of circumstances, and there's a lot of energy and excitement around Gary Johnson, and a lot of people are going to vote for him just to vote against Trump, but they just don't want to hear it. They're all on board with Trump, and they just, I mean, look, the math is pretty easy to understand, and it's kind of hard to argue with numbers. Just ask Nate Silver, the statistician who very accurately and successfully predicts the outcome of all these races, and the math must be pretty easy and obvious if I can understand it, because I'm terrible at math. Like I always say, I'm the guy who failed college accounting the first time I took it. But no, these guys, they don't want to hear it, and they think Trump is great, and they love his bluntness. And then of course, you bring up some of the Archie Bunker type rhetoric, and they defend that, and they think it's fine, and they just don't get it. So, and one of the things that we're going to cover tonight is I found this great article. We'll have to save it for the next segment probably, but I found this great article on rightwingwatch.org. The 7 most ridiculous defenses of Donald Trump's racist attacks. and there is some audio included with that. So we'll get to that in the next segment. But yeah, looks like Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades, that uploaded really quickly. So what I'll do is during the break, I'll share it out with everybody. I'll share it out on the I usually don't share it out to the Matt Connarton Unleashed page because it's a different show. But I will share it out this week just because I've been talking about it. So you can hear me and see me, not now, of course, wait till this show's done. But then you can go to the IPM Nation YouTube page and see me spout off on my theory and then listen to these guys. And, they're, in my view, they're just completely missing what I think is very obvious. I don't want to sound like I'm being too critical because while I obviously disagree with them, I love Gary. I consider him a very good friend. And I like Paul very much. He's been on the show several times over the years. We had dinner with him one night after the show, and I really like Paul very much as well. So, I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, but I just think, but if you watch the show, and if you are at all sympathetic to my point of view on this, when you watch the show, you'll see what I mean. It's like they're so locked in to their pro-Trump thing that they just can't see. Like I said, it's just math. They can pretend Gary Johnson doesn't exist and that he's not a threat, but he does exist and he is a threat and he's a serious threat this time around. And, they don't have to like it, but they're going to have to deal with it when Hillary Clinton wins the presidency, because that's most likely what's going to happen. All right, we're already up against a break. We'll be right back. Stay with me. Got a fun show tonight. Don't go away.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Matt Connarton here. Join Jen Coffey and I twice a week for Matt Connarton Unleashed, a political talk show that's a little different than what you're used to. No liberal or conservative agenda here, just an honest dialogue about truth and how things really work in the world of politics. Matt Connarton Unleashed, every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
The name is Bond. James Bond.
No, the name is Joe. The Joe Show. And we are returning back for our 9th season here on OMTimes Radio. So tune in every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, on OMTimes.com/mobile. You can take us wherever you go. Yeah!
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Matt Connarton Unleashed. We're live. So, coming out of the break there, I just shared out on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page this week's Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. So you can, again, wait till after this show. This is where the action is. This is live. But afterward, you can kind of, so you can experience for yourself what I was just referencing. Let's see. So let's move on to this article I was just talking about. Again, this is from rightwingwatch.org, the 7 most ridiculous defenses of Donald Trump's racist attacks. This will be fun. Let's see. It says here, while Donald Trump is trying to walk back his racist attacks on a federal judge by insisting that he never attacked Judge Gonzalo Curiel's ethnicity or heritage when, in fact, he did several times, his GOP defenders are straining credulity to defend him. Trump has said that judges of Mexican descent or of the Muslim faith cannot be impartial in a case involving his Trump University scam because of the proposals for building a wall with Mexico and banning Muslims from entering the country, respectively. But according to his supporters, Trump never made such claims, and the real problem is with Judge Curiel. Here are 7 of the most ridiculous defenses of Trump's comments. And yes, we have audio for this. Let's see. Number 1, it wasn't racist. He's calling attention to racism. In what can only be described as a bizarre meltdown, CNN's resident Trump apologist, Jeffrey Lord, said yesterday that not only is Trump not a racist, but everybody else is racist. Okay, let's check this out.
What we're about to see here, anybody who wins a presidential nomination, can they reshape their party? Has the party been reshaped from the bottom, in essence, as I believe it has in Donald Trump's case? Actually,
we're not going to check that out because that piece of audio is 19 minutes long. So never mind. But I'll share it out on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page during the break. Number 2 in our from rightwingwatch.org, the 7 most ridiculous defenses of Donald Trump's racist attacks. Number 2, the judge is like a white supremacist. Representative Duncan Hunter, Republican of California, said today on Sean Hannity's radio program, well, actually, you know what? Let's just play the audio. Here.
Job as Speaker of the House to help keep our party unified. I think if we go into the fall as a divided party, we are doomed to lose. And that is why I'm going to be focusing on these ideas, these solutions, and not attempt to try and defend the indefensible.
All right, that was Paul Ryan commenting about the Donald Trump controversy. Glad you're with us. 800-941-SEAN if you want to be a part of the program. Joining us now is Congressman Duncan Hunter of California. We have him on for a lot of different reasons. How are you?
Hey, doing great, Sean. Thank you.
All right, so you probably know about this particular group which has come into play here, and that is the San Diego La Raza Lawyers Association, because that's where you're from, and you know probably the positions of the controversial National Council of La Raza, of which, by the way, is translated into the race. They're separate groups. The Lawyers Association is not a branch of the National Council of...
Okay, wait a second. I gotta stop that right there. And unfortunately, by me stopping it, it starts the whole clip over. So I'm gonna interject here, and then we'll move on to number 3. But here's the thing. Okay, so some of the Trump apologists, and again, this was part of what Gary and Paul were saying in defense of Trump yesterday on rock, paper, hand grenades. Well, it turns out that this judge is also a member of these pro-Mexican, pro-Hispanic groups or whatever. So he has to recuse himself because he's a member of these pro-Hispanic groups. So Trump was right. And that seems to be what Hannity is saying here. And, of course, what they don't get is that doesn't make it any better. How does being a member of some sort of pro-Hispanic group like the La Raza, whatever, how does that make one unable to judge, make rulings in a judge about a scam, about the fraud that is allegedly Trump University? You know, so, not only is he of Mexican heritage, but he belongs to groups that are Hispanic in nature. So obviously, see, all that is, that's just furthering the racism. That's not, that doesn't, if the judge is supposed to recuse himself, he's supposed to recuse himself because he has some sort of a conflict of interest in terms of the case. They're saying, well, no, it's not racist for Trump to it's not racist for Trump to say that he has to recuse him. The judge has to recuse himself because of his ethnicity, because he also belongs to groups that are ethnically based. It's like, well, what's the difference? It still all comes down to, by the way, this judge was born in Indiana. Lest any of the Trump apologists try to tell you that, he's like this Mexican immigrant or something who came here they'd probably like you to think that he's an undocumented immigrant who came here and somehow managed to become a judge, right? No, he's a Mexican American. He was born in Indiana, grew up in the United States, but not only is he Hispanic, but he belongs to these Hispanic groups. Pretty piss poor defense of Trump there. Number 3, the judge is biased. After insisting that Trump's claim that Judge Curiel shouldn't be allowed to hear his case because of his Mexican heritage wasn't racist, former Governor Mike Huckabee told Megyn Kelly last night that he believes Judge Curiel is motivated not necessarily by an ethnic bias, but by a left-wing political agenda that makes him prejudiced against Trump in the fraud case. When Kelly asked Huckabee if he has any evidence demonstrating such an anti-Trump political bias, Huckabee conceded that he had none. Right, because who need facts or evidence, right? You just, if you want to convince everyone that Trump isn't racist, you just make stuff up. But at least Huckabee, I guess, to his credit, when he makes stuff up and Megyn Kelly kind of asked him, hey, did you just make that up? He admitted that he did. Number 4, Obama is racist. Well, Representative Lee Zeldin, a Republican of New York, didn't agree with Trump's regrettable statement. He went on to claim in a rather awkward CNN interview yesterday that he could just as easily, quote, argue that the president of the United States is a racist with his policies and rhetoric, unquote. This is something you hear from the right constantly, by the way. Obama's racist. He hates white people. Of which I've never seen any of. Look, I have plenty of my own criticisms of Barack Obama. I have seen precisely 0 evidence that Barack Obama is somehow racist against whites. I literally cannot think of a single piece of evidence to suggest that. But this is another one of those go-tos when they can't think of anything else to hit him with. Or in this case, it's a twisted means of defending Trump. Well, what about Obama? He's racist too. Here, let's see. There's audio here. I'm not sure how long it is. If it's short enough,
Congressman Lee Zeldin, who has endorsed Donald.
It's 6 minutes long. We're not gonna play that. Okay, number 5. Sotomayor said the same thing. Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley invoked remarks made in years past. Oh, geez, I already know where this is going. I already find this incredibly weak, and I haven't even read it yet. I know exactly what this is going to be, though. God, these people are so predictable. All right. Anyway, Chuck Grassley invoked remarks made in years past by Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor in order to defend Trump's allegation that Judge Curiel cannot be impartial because he's a Mexican. Quote, I think that you don't have any more trouble with what Trump said, than when Sotomayor said, when she was found saying in speeches that, quote, a wise Latina woman with the richness of her experience would more often than not reach a better conclusion than a white male, unquote, the Iowa senator told the Des Moines Register. Yeah, that's been a talking point for Republicans ever since Sotomayor, obviously when she came to the forefront of American political consciousness when she was nominated by Obama for the Supreme Court. Well, look at this thing she said in this speech. She's obviously racist. Then it says here, while Trump was insisting that Mexican Americans are inherently disqualified from presiding over a case involving him, Sotomayor was making the exact opposite point, as she was describing the need for a more diverse judiciary that isn't shaped entirely by the background and experience of white men. She said, quote, I do believe every person has an equal opportunity to be a good and wise judge, regardless of their background or life experience, unquote. But yeah, there's a lot of this. It's like it's their go-to. Well, he's not racist because Trump's not racist because, well, everyone else is racist. Some of these people are, I mean, they're just, it's like they're so, I don't know if it's more that they're just so dug in and they're just going to defend Trump at any cost, or they're just too intellectually feeble to make any kind of credible argument. So they just go to this nonsense. Let's get one more in before the break, and then we'll definitely have to save number 7. Actually, let's save both 6 and 7 for after the break. So what we'll do is when we come back, we'll finish up with this list from rightwingwatch.org, the 7 most ridiculous defenses of Donald Trump's racist attacks. And then when we come back, after that, we'll finish up when we come back, and then we'll go to more Trump. There's more Trump. Because Gary and Paul were right about one thing. The Republican establishment is panicking. That much I do agree with, and it's glorious. I love watching on both sides. I love watching the Republican establishment panic. I say loved past tense because I think that this part's over now, but I loved watching Hillary look like she was panicking over Bernie. I love watching the establishment, right or left, because I don't believe in any of these people. I love watching them all panic. It does my heart good. Perhaps in my lifetime, we will see my dream come true of the complete destruction of the two-party system. Not going to hold my breath, but if there was ever a year that was right for it, it's 2016. We'll be right back. More Unleashed coming up. Stay with me.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Hailing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Hailing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Welcome back, everybody. Matt Connarton Unleashed. We're live. Of course, we're 5 nights a week at 11 p.m. Eastern on IPM Nation 2, and Tuesdays and Thursday evenings. We are also carried on OTR FM, which is the premium channel on the OMTimes Radio Network. And trust me when I say this, I'm not complaining, but I think those breaks have gotten a little bit shorter. I don't know. Seems like they used to be closer to 3 minutes, and now they're 2. Or I could be confused. I could be hallucinating. I could be delirious. I am very tired. I am wiped. It's my new catchphrase, you know. It's catching on. I do, we're on at 11 o'clock at night. And what's good about it is, we're at the end of the news day. So whatever happened politically during the day, we can sort of capture that. But, I mean, the other side of that is, sometimes I'm just really tired around this time. All right, so let's get back. Let's finish up with this article. The 7 most ridiculous defenses of Donald Trump's racist attacks from rightwingwatch.org. We have 2 more of these to go, and then we'll move on, sort of. Number 6, be nice. When asked about Trump's remarks on the judge's ethnicity, Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican of Utah, said that it is unfair for the media. Here we go. See, we already know where this one's going to, don't we? Blame the media. Always blame the media. It's the liberal media. By the way, I say all the time, anyone who thinks that the media is against Trump doesn't understand how the media works. All right. Anyway, I didn't even get through the first sentence, and I digress, as I so often do. Let's just start that over. When asked about Trump's remarks on the judge's ethnicity, Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican of Utah, said that it is unfair for the media to cover Trump like any other candidate for office because it is his first time running for an elected position. Oh, I get it. It's his first time as a candidate. So if he says racist things, it's unfair for the media to report that he said something racist. See? It's that liberal media. If it were a Democrat running for the first time and he said something racist, they would just completely ignore it. I'm sure that's what he thinks. No, I don't think he really thinks that. He's too smart for that. But he knows this plays with the conservative base. Okay, it says here, Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican of Utah, seems to think Trump is being unnecessarily bullied for his remarks. Ooh, Trump is being bullied. Trump's not a bully. He's being bullied. He's the victim. Quote. Jeez. This is actually what he said. This is stunning. Quote, be nice to him. He's a first-time candidate. When you're in a big race, you make mistakes, unquote. Oh, poor Trump. We should all be a little nicer to him. You know what? After reading Orrin Hatch's remarks, I have to tell you, I kind of feel a little bit badly. I feel like I'm sitting here bullying Trump. I doubt that Donald Trump has ever heard this program, but if he has, he's, I've probably hurt his feelings. It's his first time running for president. I've probably been a little hard on him. I mean, him pulling out the one black guy at a rally and saying, look at my African American over there. That's, it seems racist, but come on. It's his first time running for president. And now that I think about it, back in because I mentioned him earlier, back in 1992, Ross Perot was in a similar position as Trump. Ross Perot, a billionaire who had never run for any political office before, decided to run for president for the first time. And Ross Perot, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, and I paid a lot of attention because it was the first election I was eligible to vote in, I don't remember Ross Perot blurting out anything racist. Which is weird, right? Because you would think he would. It was his first time running for president. How could he not have just gone around and at every opportunity, at every rally, says, or every press conference or whatever, just blurt out racist things. I mean, he probably did, and I just don't remember, right? I'm sure Perot said a lot of racist things. I mean, why wouldn't he? It was his first time running for office. Apparently, that's just what happens. I don't remember it, though. But if he did, I hope everyone was very nice to him about it. Because to get upset with him would be unfair. It's very important to be nice. Just ask Orrin Hatch. Always be nice. By the way, something kind of interesting about Orrin Hatch. He's a musician. He's actually released albums. If I remember correctly, he's a banjo player. This is kind of a weird side fact about him that's kind of interesting. There's more. In a separate interview with the Huffington Post, Hatch speculated that Trump just felt like he was being picked on. Being picked on. Oh, my God. Wow. Orrin is really, really worried about Trump feeling bullied and picked on. And he's very... I think Orrin Hatch knows something about Trump maybe the rest of us don't know. Maybe Trump has feelings and is very sensitive in a way that the rest of us aren't aware of. Quote, he's the type of person who will make comments that sometimes you differ with, and then as he gets to reality on things, he'll change his point of view and be, more responsible. I think he does feel like he's being picked on by the courts. A lot of people who go through the courts feel the same way. He just speaks about it, unquote. Oh, poor guy. Poor Trump. I feel so bad now. Orrin Hatch made me feel bad. I don't want to pick on him anymore. I mean, I will. Hatch's claim that the media should have a lower standard for Trump is as laughable as it is revealing that the GOP believes Trump should get a pass for his racist remarks. And finally, number 7, rather, which we referenced earlier. He's a member of La Raza. Last week, Trump spokeswoman Katrina Pearson said that Judge Curiel is biased because he's a member of the California La Raza Lawyers Association, which she said, quote, is an organization that has been out there organizing these anti-Trump protesters with the Mexican flags. So Mr. Trump is just stating the obvious, unquote. I don't remember Trump stating any of that. All I remember Trump saying is he must be biased because he's Mexican. That's all I remember hearing Trump say. She added that the group sponsors criminal rallies and criminal protesters under the guise of an anti-Trump protest, and this judge is connected to that. She said, quote, this is not a pro-American group who is out there wanting to get their voices heard. They are out there pushing to destroy, propose anarchy, and to stop an American president from running for office, unquote. Pearson, like many other right-wing commentators, apparently confused the La Raza Lawyers Association with the National Council of La Raza, a Latino group that is a favorite boogeyman of the right. Aside from the fact that NCLR is not the anarchy-promoting criminal organization that Pearson claims it isn't even the organization that Curiel is a member of. The two are completely different groups. The lawyers' organization is nonpartisan and, quote, focuses on the professional development of Latino lawyers and encouraging students to pursue a career in law, unquote. Oh, they sound terribly dangerous to me. Oh, my goodness. Well, I don't know. I don't even, what can you say? I mean, the facts never really much matter in politics. So it doesn't matter that it's not even the correct group. It sounds good. If you go on Fox News and you say, oh, he's a member of blah, 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 La Raza, something, something. And, and then the, what is the average age of the Fox News viewer? I think it's like 72 or something. I'm not kidding, by the way. There really was a survey. I think it showed the average age of the Fox viewer was 72. So you can go on Fox and say, oh, he's a member of this group and all this, and then all the 72-year-olds go, yeah, that's right. Those damn Mexicans, or whatever it is they say. That's what I picture the average 72-year-old Fox viewer saying. Those damn Mexicans stealing our jobs. They do, by the way. That's actually true. I know I think I might have told this story once before. I don't tell it often. It's a kind of a personal story that still really hurts to think about it. But a few years ago, I went to apply for a position at my dream job, which was, of course, picking oranges in the hot sun. And I thought I did really well. I went for the interview, and it seemed like they really liked me, and I thought I got the position, and I was really excited. And then, what do you know? In walks Jose Sanchez, and he's willing to work for 10 cents less an hour than me, and there you go. The Mexican gets my dream job. And then and then another kick in the balls. So then I thought, well, my fallback is I'd love to work in a sweatshop. So I applied at a sweatshop, making actually less than minimum wage. They pay you under the table, and they hose you down every couple of hours, and that's it. And I felt pretty good about that gig too. But some Hispanic-looking guy shows up, and they just give him the job automatically. It's like affirmative action or something. So I understand. When people say, "Oh, they come here and take our jobs," I can attest to that personally. It is true, and I am very resentful over it. I'm going to I'm going to have to see if any more of those positions have opened up. But all right, one more break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Do you want to be a better communicator? Do you want to better connect with the important people in your life? Do you want to enrich your relationships? If so, join me, Matthew Cooper, on the Positive Control System Show every Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OMTimes Radio. I'll meet you there.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness in action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Tonight. Of course, you can hear the show 5 nights a week at 11 p.m. Eastern on IPM Nation 2, Monday through Friday. Tuesdays and Thursday nights, of course, we are also right here on OTR FM, the premium channel on the OMTimes Radio Network. And, of course, we have the television edition of Matt Connarton Unleashed, which is now at our, I can still call it a new time. We've only been at the new time for a couple weeks. I think it's still pretty new. Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern on IPM Nation. You can see the television edition of Matt Connarton Unleashed. And, of course, we do get the shows up on YouTube the next day. This week's Unleashed is up on YouTube, as well as Ward 13 with John Hopwood. I was on there this week, as I am most weeks. And joining us, we had a great conversation with Arnie Arneson, who hosts the nationally syndicated The Attitude with Arnie Arneson, which I'm now proud to say we carry now. We are one of her list of stations that carries the show. You can hear that weekdays at 12 noon Eastern on IPM Nation 1, The Attitude with Arnie Arneson. And that was a really great conversation. Arnie's very hard left, so I certainly disagree with her on many things. But I think she's absolutely brilliant. I think I said on the show the other night, I'll say it again, if I were running against her in some sort of election, I would not want to debate her. She's very, very good, very sharp, really knows her stuff. So that was cool. I remember my first memory of Arnie Arneson actually is 1992, because and actually I'd forgotten about this, but I voted for her. She was running for governor of New Hampshire at the time. She was a Democratic nominee for governor. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, 92 was the first election that I was able to vote in. I did vote for Bill Clinton for president, although I had reservations. I considered, it's funny too, because I was talking about Perot earlier too. I did at one point really consider voting for Ross Perot. I have always said, I think Ross Perot could have been president, but without getting into it, because we're already almost out of time. We're in the last segment, but I don't want to get too deep into it. But those of you who are old enough to remember will probably remember that Perot was doing really well and looked like he had a legitimate shot as an independent at winning. And then he just totally flaked out and dropped out of the race very abruptly. It was very, very strange. And the explanation for it was very strange. Didn't make any sense. And then there was so much backlash and everyone was so disappointed with him. I think within a couple of weeks, he got right back in. And he still ended up doing very well. He did very well in the debates because he was polling, I think he was polling at about 20% nationally on the average. And it was enough to get him into the debates. So, it wasn't Clinton versus George H.W. Bush one-on-one. Perot was there too and did very well for an independent candidate on election day. Very well. And like I said, a lot of people say he threw the election to Clinton because he took enough votes from Bush. But I've always believed, and this is one of those things where some people think I'm crazy to think this, and some people actually think I might be right. I've always believed that if Perot didn't flake out the way that he did, if he had stayed in, if he didn't do this weird thing where he got out and then he got back in and said, I'm sorry and all that, if he had just stayed in, I think he could have won. There was a lot of energy and excitement around Ross Perot. And, it was the feeling, the feeling then was the same. I think the feeling then was the same in the country that it is now. It's funny. People talk about these outsider candidates like Trump or Bernie Sanders, who's kind of an outsider in some ways. And they say it's because, we have finally reached a point where the country is just fed up with the establishment, fed up with partisan politics as usual, and wants something new and wants something different. But people talk about it as though that's a new and recent development. Like all these years, we've been slowly building to this point where now people are finally fed up. But it's a matter of perspective, because I think back to 1992 and it's like, well, wait a minute. It was the same thing then. In 1992, it was that same feeling when all that energy and enthusiasm was behind Ross Perot. It was, you'd hear people say all the same things. Oh, people are tired of politics as usual. People are fed up with the establishment, with the two-party system, all of this, and they want something new and different. So I don't think what we're experiencing now I don't think it's anything new by any means, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's nothing new and different about it, but I do think I think it's actually been here for decades. Like I said, it was clearly here in 92. I remember it vividly. It was the same kind of thing. But I think what happens is it ebbs and flows. I think when times are really good, like the 90s on balance, during the Clinton administration, times were pretty good. You know, things were pretty okay in terms of foreign policy. The economy was booming. I think when times are good for an extended period of time, and you saw the same thing too during, the Reagan administration, at least Reagan's second term. First term was a little rocky, but went well enough. He was able to win a second term. I think when times are good, people do get a little complacent. But then when there's a downturn in the economy or people aren't happy with what's happening from a foreign policy standpoint, that unrest, that unease, and that anger and frustration with the system and with politics as usual sets in. So what we're experiencing now, when people say, oh, we're finally at a point where people are fed up and that's why people are excited about someone like Trump, it's not. I mean, for one thing, it's misguided because I don't know why people have so much faith in him. But I don't agree that it's something new. I think it's always existed, but there's an ebb and flow to it. And I think if you look back through history, and particularly through presidential elections over history, I'm sure that just like now, just like in 1992, when Perot, when there was a lot of excitement about Perot, and elections prior to that, I would bet that you can find elections throughout history where there has been that same sort of anti-establishment, anti-politics as usual feeling that bubbles up and comes close to accomplishing something, but doesn't quite make it in terms of electing an actual independent to the presidency, which I acknowledge is almost impossible. But I think it comes and goes. I think there was some of that in 1980, actually, because in 1980 it was Carter versus Reagan. And, Carter, of course, was by many standards not successful. And, and Reagan had that sort of sunny optimism that people liked and, it's morning in America and all that. But there was a third guy in that race, John B. Anderson. He was the independent candidate. My father voted for John Anderson. And John Anderson actually did pretty well in terms of how many votes he got. He was not, he wasn't like, I don't know what the percentage was, but it wasn't like Gary Johnson in 2012. I voted for Gary Johnson in 2012, but in 2012, he only got 1% of the vote. John B. Anderson did much better than that. I think Perot probably holds the record as far as a third-party independent candidate who, in terms of what percentage of the votes they get, because I think he got, he was definitely well into the double digits. I know that. But, this time, Gary Johnson is in the double digits in the polls. So, but none of this is anything new in my opinion. There's an article here quickly because we're almost out of time. This is from HuffPost. What was Paul Ryan thinking? Inside the speaker's decision to endorse a man who, by his own admission, says racist things. This is short. We'll try to get through a little bit of this, but yeah, Paul Ryan has been it's been interesting watching him try to maneuver this mess. It says here, if these are the times that try Republican souls, what are we to make of Speaker Paul Ryan? The Wisconsin Republican, fresh off of endorsing Donald Trump, called out the presumptive GOP nominee Tuesday for, quote, sort of like the textbook definition of a racist comment, unquote. Ryan said he, quote, wasn't even going to pretend to defend, unquote, the businessman's statement that Judge Gonzalo Curio should recuse himself from ruling on a Trump University case because of his Mexican heritage. Yet right after calling those comments unacceptable, Ryan proceeded to accept Trump. He said Hillary Clinton wasn't the answer and that Republicans were better off with Trump in the White House to sign the legislation they send him. The New York Daily News perfectly summed up the whiplash on a planned front page they drafted titled, "I'm with Racist." Supporter of the guy who says racist things is not a fantastic look for Paul Ryan, who's presented himself as the serious, policy-driven adult in the GOP. But in conversations with members, aides, and people close to Ryan, the speaker's confidants insist he's played the Trump endorsement as best he could. Future of the Republic be damned. It is important to understand that Trump was clearly not Ryan's first choice, according to these sources. That point was probably clear enough when, after months of saying he'd support the GOP nominee, Ryan went on CNN and said he wasn't ready to endorse Trump at this point. By holding off, Ryan managed to introduce some daylight between himself, Trump, and, consequently, House Republicans. Ryan said he wanted to have real unity in the party, not just fake unity, which would presumably occur if the speaker just pretended to support Trump. 4 weeks later, with Trump's tone perhaps even worse, Ryan endorsed him, prompting the question, what changed? Ryan himself suggested recently that one big difference was the two had spoken. They had met in person, had a couple more phone calls, and their staffs were in communication nearly every day, talking about Ryan and the House GOP's agenda. The speaker also suggested Thursday that one reason he endorsed Trump was that he won fair and square. That's all well and good, but by Ryan's own admission, he's now pushing for a guy who says racist things to become the most powerful leader in the world. Clearly, there's more to this. And then we're going to run out of time, but this article is interesting because it kind of gets into what Paul Ryan's true strategy may be. And many think what Paul Ryan's true strategy is, you know, he knows Trump is going to lose. He knows Hillary is going to be president in 2016. And Paul Ryan is already angling for his 2020 run for the Republican nomination. So he's looking at the future. He knows the present and the immediate future isn't going to work out well for the Republicans. And they're going to lose big in 2016. There's no doubt about it. Trump is destroying the party, at least their chances this time around. But Paul Ryan has his eye on 2020. He's a very, very smart guy. Very, very shrewd. We're out of time. Good night, everybody.